Today I'm going to spin the wheel for Bakshi, the legendary cavalry hero that I was really hyped about until I started using some other combos, and I'm finding those combos to be preferable. So stick around in this video for my explanation of why it is I'm spinning for Bakshi, even though he's probably not at the top of my list for heroes I'm working on. Let's get started. Hello my friends and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and today's video is sponsored by the makers of Call of Dragons. And the reason I have my merits up on the screen is that I wanted to show you that I've been doing a lot of fighting. 13 million merits puts me in the top 20 in the absolutely insane, whaled out Kraken server that I'm in. That's server 32, along with 3 other servers that are merged with us for this season. And it has been a very crazy season. But today's video is about cavalry heroes specifically and spinning for Bakshi. At this exact moment in time, I have 11 hero tokens for Bakshi, and I don't think I'll be able to max him from the lucky spins, but I will get pretty close. And I'm probably not going to use universal tokens to finish off my Bakshi because, well, I'll explain that he's actually not as important as other heroes that I'm using, weirdly enough. So let's get started with these lucky spins. I've already gone in and max purchased the bundle. For 185 bucks, you get 100 of the spins. That's the Goblin Market vouchers. 70,000 gems gets you another 100 vouchers. And it's time to get it going. Boom. 1 Bakshi off the rip is pretty good. So I'm going to do the skip animation here to keep the pace moving pretty quickly. But the funny thing is that even if you didn't need the tokens for the wheel hero, the wheel value is so high, especially because if you spin to, for example, 70 spins in the lucky spin event, you get a bunch of universal tokens along the way as well. So the value of this thing is really, really, really high. And I am hoping that we get someone other than Bakshi the next time this wheel comes around. You know, I'm in season 1+, and it's been a little weird for a number of reasons. But in this video, the weirdness I want to talk about is the Strongest Lord event. You see, at the start of this season, they gave us 2 new heroes, Sindrian and Frhagar, and we got 2 Strongest Lord events and lucky spin events with those heroes, but then they're gone. There's no other way to get them other than doing the Strongest Lord, or there was a special wheel event at the start of the season. Now, look, I come from the game Rise of Kingdoms initially, where you would typically get 4 to 5, maybe even 6 cycles of a hero showing up in the wheel and also in the Mightiest Governor, the equivalent of the Strongest Lord. And it's very interesting that here in Call of Dragons, they showed up twice and now they're gone. So this has several implications. First of all, hey, let's freaking go. Full Bakshi. I probably went to pity there. I did. All right, well, less exciting. But the thing that has, I think, interesting implications here is that if you max out any of these Season 1 heroes that come back later in the wheel, like Bakshi, man, you kind of miss out on a lot of value from the lucky spins. So if you're in Season 1, consider not maxing your Bakshi, because when you enter Season 1+, he may show up in the wheel for you too. And if he shows up in the wheel, you're going to want to be able to capitalize on the crazy value that you get in this wheel. So that's what we're doing now, even though Bakshi for me is someone who I've kind of benched. Now, why is that? Well, I talked in a recent video about how I switched to the Spring Wardens. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel to get notifications about videos that I'm making for Call of Dragons, consider doing so. And thank you for throwing a like on the video if you're enjoying this one so far. But those of you who are subscribed saw my video about how I switched to Spring Wardens. And when I switched to Spring Wardens, there's a special unit that I get that is the Eagle. And the Eagle flies. And let me tell you, flying cavalry, man, I am without words. It is so cool. 1 Bakshi token there's okay. We're looking for like 2 tokens, by the way, in each of these spins. And I feel like my spins have been not so good so far. I mean, I am getting speed ups and I do need troops, so it's not the worst. And I suppose given that we may get another Bakshi wheel, maybe I want to root for not getting Bakshi tokens. It's a weird situation, but whatever. This spin, I'm getting a bunch of Bakshi tokens. Oh, that was really good. 3 Bakshi, 1 universal, big win here. So I switched to the Spring Wardens. I started using Flying Cavalry. And I generally don't use my cavalry much at all. The thing I thought I would do with them is use them as a ranged unit, and I do a little bit of that. But for the most part, I'm just healing mages and healing marksmen and using them. I have 2 marches of marksmen, I have 2 marches of mages, and I'll have an infantry march laying around, either in waiting or in the front line to sort of tank. And that's the way you play infantry, by the way. You either run in the first wave or you play the reserve wave, in my opinion. So I'll be doing one of those things with my infantry or guarding the ball from assaulting cavalry to interrupt the cavalry charge. And if you didn't know, by the way, when a cavalry unit charges another unit, you get a full rage bar. That works, I think, particularly if you charge a ranged unit. But the infantry can stop that, which is really powerful. Not only do they physically stop their position, but it says they interrupt that effect, which is pretty cool. A feature of infantry is I pull down a full Bakshi. So my Bakshi spent a lot of time on the bench. My Bakshi spent a lot of time on the bench. My basic cavalry ranged unit spent a lot of time on the bench. And the range is just too short for your typical ranged poke fests that happen in big brawls. So, this is the weirdness of investing in Bakshi right now and spinning this wheel is that, am I using him? Yikes. Now, with that said, before I got flying cavalry, I did really enjoy running around and doing, backline disruption. But once you use an eagle, okay, and you escape from an enemy by flying over a river, and then over a mountain, or even just over a city, and the enemy has to walk around the city, you start to realize that flying cavalry are 100 times better than your cavalry that can't fly. 2 Bakshi and 1 G2 token. Let's freaking go. So I'm not knocking Bakshi because he is really powerful, and I think he might be still the best rally. Bakshi Emrys is just really, really wicked. Even though Sindri and Freygar is new and powerful, I actually think the Bakshi result might still be better. I mean, I have to do more testing. I don't know. You don't get that many ways to test in this game, really, other than just real situations. But, full Bakshi early. Yo, early full Bakshi. Let's go. That's a win right there, and a G2 token. Okay, hey, let's go, baby. Let's freaking go. So, I'm investing in Bakshi in part because 2 new heroes were teased. And I suspect one of them is going to be a flying cavalry unit, and one of them is not going to be a flying cavalry unit. So I'm very hyped to see kind of what we end up getting for those heroes. I feel like we're also kind of overdue for another garrison hero, but a cavalry garrison feels, I don't know why, just somewhat unlikely to me. Here we go with 2 Bakshi tokens and a G2 token. You see, the thing is, we already have a cavalry rally, kind of. I guess none of them have a like rally specific skill. Maybe it will be a rally specific skill. Maybe the new rally, maybe it's going to be Emrys and one of the new ones, or maybe both the new ones. Who knows? Here's another G2 token. Love to see it. This is a great spin overall. I mean, mana and speed ups and tokens. Hell yeah. That's where it's freaking at, baby. And let me tell you, the thing I need right now is more troops. Once you start fighting a whole heck of a lot, you start to realize, okay, how do I improve my account? And if you're in the end game with tier 5s, which I recognize most people aren't, you have several attack vectors once your tech is maxed. And this is true, by the way, even if you haven't maxed out your tech, there are several vectors for improving your account. One is to improve the strength of your heroes, which gives you better trades. That's good, right? The strength of your artifacts gives you better trades. But at some point, you run out of troops, and once you run out of troops, you need just more troops to be more effective. And I feel like I'm at that point where my heroes are certainly good enough. My artifacts are actually, on all the heroes I'm using, max skill anyways. And so for me, I think troops is the most important gains I can get. Although I can increase the star level on some of my heroes. In fact, many of my heroes. I only have one of them at 6 stars. By the way, full Bakshi, love to see it. I think the biggest gains actually come from just more troops, which has the benefit, by the way, of giving you more passive hospital healing as well. So not only is it more troops to play around with, it's more troop regeneration, and that is the jam. So at some point, I will be doing a big training session if if necessary, unlock the new cavalry heroes, which is an interesting topic that I've been waiting for an excuse to discuss, so now seems like a good time. You see, we have the strongest lord running right now, and it's for Garwood. And Garwood is good and all, but like, the question I have is, will the only way to unlock the new strongest lord hero be from the strongest lord? Or will we get a special wheel that lets you unlock the new heroes, both of them, as soon as they arrive, just like we did with Sindrian and Freygar? Because if the only way is to get the hero from strongest lord, man, and there's only 2 strongest lords of a hero before it disappears entirely, I'm just saying, it could be a pretty rare thing. My hope is that every time we get new heroes, we're going to get that special wheel that's got like the quadrants in it. I'll have a card in the end screen for that wheel so you can see what it looks like. But my hope is that, you know, these heroes won't be exclusive to the strongest lord, and then strongest lord only shows up twice, and like, hope you got it, right? That would kind of suck. I don't think they're going to do that. I really hope, again, we'll get that special wheel when the new heroes land. Oh my god, that spin was good. 3 Bakshi, mana, speed ups. Let's freaking go, man. This event alone replenishes a very healthy amount of speed ups here. 3 Bakshi tokens, yo, and a G2, and legendary medals. Man, this is ending on a strong note, honestly. And I pulled a full 10 spot early, which is nice. This is going okay. I mean, it was like 5 pulls before I went to pity, but whatever. Cool. Glad to see it. And there, is this my final spin, or do I have a couple more? Bakshi and a G2 token, and here it is, final spin. All right. Where do I end up with Bakshi? Remember, I had 11 of his tokens. How many do I have now? By the way, in Rise of Kingdoms, the predecessor to this game, you actually can switch which hero is on the wheel. You can't do that here, but it might happen at some point down the road where you get to select among a series of heroes and you pick which one you want to go for. So I went from 11 to 137. So I got 126 tokens. Not bad, but still only 1 point. So even if Bakshi shows up again, which he might, I'll probably have too many of Bakshi's tokens. Overall, I'll get an overage if I max spin the wheel. So I might gem as I go to see how kind of far I get toward the end of things and see if I actually need to spend the full 70,000 gems on top of also doing the bundles. Or maybe I won't buy the bundle and I'll just use some gems, to be determined. So my Bakshi's in a pretty good spot. He's almost maxed. I'm missing 4% cavalry hit points, and I'm missing 6% physical attack. And the awakening skill gives me an extra 100 damage factor on the active and an extra 10% health for 5 seconds, which is a pretty big deal. That actually is quite nice. So I am working toward the Bakshi awakening, although I wouldn't say that it's critical. By that I mean that 100 damage factor and a little bit of health is not life-changing. So if you were thinking, man, I don't know if I want to spin for this or save for something else, I feel like you could save for something else. I don't think you need to use your universal tokens on Bakshi unless you're a rally leader. And if you are a rally leader, then you would have, I think, more interest in having the hero maxed right away. But I'm not a rally leader, and my Emrys is 5532 at this moment in time. In terms of my favorite Bakshi artifacts, even with the Spring Warden faction with the ranged cavalry, depending on what combination of things I'm using, I will primarily try to run the Spring Blades. If I'm running both a Flying March with Thea for my Flying Cavalry, that's Thea and Craig, or if I'm running my regular cavalry at the same time, then I'll use the Kingslayer for now as the other artifact that I'm using. I have 4 skills on this, which is pretty good. At some point, I might take this all the way up to max the damage dealt, but I have a suspicion that more artifacts will come into the game that I'm really hyped about, and that the skill ups I'd probably rather have for those other artifacts. And in particular, I'd want to take those artifacts all the way up to the 7.5% extra damage dealt, if possible. If you enjoyed the vid, do me the honor of throwing a like on here and consider subscribing. I'll have 2 cards in the end screen that you probably want to see. One is that special wheel that landed when new heroes hit the game. I really hope we're getting that again. The other is going to be why it is that I switched to the Spring Wardens, and it'll be some footage of me flying around with those Eagles, and whoo-hoo, let me tell you, man, the Eagles do some freaking work. I love the Eagles. It's just, once you use Eagles, it's just so hard to imagine doing anything else. Is the most mobile unit in the game by a long shot. Until next time, my friends, you have fun smashing the kingdom.